Hello, everybody. Tom Cassidy and Charlie Cassidy here. We're talking about evidence-based wisdom, and here we get to the real nitty-gritty, the real science of the stuff, which is actually measuring wisdom. And both of us are scientists, a lot of science in our family. We both studied physics originally, and if you can't measure it, it's not real, is it? As far as the scientific perspective. So tell us about measuring something as esoteric and as abstract as wisdom.
Absolutely. I mean, that's your trepidation, or my trepidation at this point, is exactly the reason why people have stayed away from wisdom for so long, because it's not like they didn't know it was important. People have always deemed it the absolute pinnacle of kind of human achievement, to become wise. But why have they not studied it if it's that important? Because it's fraught with difficulty. It is complex. And we're going to be talking, the next few minutes, about some of those difficulties and some of the ways those can be resolved.
And it's interesting as well, education suffers from this as well, doesn't it? Well, what we tend to do is we tend to value the things that we can easily measure because we can measure them easily. And that's the challenge, isn't
it? That famous Einstein quote. Is it counts... measured and everything that can be measured doesn't count, something like that. I think it might be the other way around.
I think people need to do their own searching for that.
Don't quote me on that.
Exactly. So let's get back to measuring wisdom. Fraught with danger, with difficulty, but there are some ways around it, or appear to be.
I mean, the main if you're trying to assess how wise someone is, firstly you need some sort of criteria to judge them against. We've discussed in a previous interview today about there's these three dominant models, and that's great. So you've got some sort of framework to measure people against, so you can develop scales from there. And there are two main sorts of ways that you might assess someone's wisdom. You might, as is common with most psychological tests, you might give them a self-report questionnaire where there's lots of questions, and they have to sort of score themselves 1 to 7 on a kind of how much do you agree with this statement kind of thing. So that's sort of self-report questionnaire approach. And then there's the alternative is the performance-based measure. So we're going to look again at those in a bit more detail. So very easy to administer is the first type. The self-report questionnaire. It's cheap. It's just a piece of paper. Fill it in.
Here you go. Are you wise? Yes.
Exactly.
No.
Yeah. Right. Are you wise? We can get this done really quickly. As it doesn't take a genius to work out, there are some problems with self-report questionnaires. 3 kind of main problems. The first one is something that's called the social desirability effect. So if you're measuring about how brilliant people are at something, they will probably, over-report how good they are, under-report how bad they are. This comes up with drinking, or smoking, or interestingly with sex. It comes up, men tend to over-report how much sex they have, women tend to under-report how much sex they have. So there is this problem, cultural pressures pushing people in one direction. So
recently on this, there's a great book called Brain Chains, where we talk about our ability to assess how well we can multitask and those sorts of things, especially when we're asking whether or not we would ever text and drive. And a lot of people say, we're fine and it's okay. But then whether we would be in a car with someone who's texting and driving, we never want to do that.
No, we could do that. Wouldn't trust anyone because you're above average at it.
Of course.
Exactly. That's this idea of, I suppose it comes back to what we were talking about earlier about knowing thyself. People don't know themselves at all. No. So if they're your source of data,
it's going to be fraught with inaccuracy.
Interestingly, studies have shown that the discrepancy between your understanding of your skills and the reality of it tends to increase with age. So people get worse at assessing their skill level at something as you get older.
So the know thyself component of wisdom actually decreases with age.
So that's problematic. So you've got this social desirability. We're pressured towards reporting in certain ways. Then you've got this idea of people don't really know their own skill set very well. So that's a sort of just a self-illusion kind of problem. And then the really interesting one, that applies to all types of psychological testing. And a really interesting one in relation to wisdom is people that aren't wise don't know they aren't wise. And people that are wise are aware of how how
the extent of their ignorance.
And they know it better than the people that are really ignorant.
So it's actually it's completely oppositional, isn't it? So you will get, your results will be perverted by the wisdom of the individual.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
So like the first two ideas are problematic across the board, but this one specifically applies to wisdom. You will have probably wise people reporting themselves as foolish and foolish people reporting themselves as wise, which is a problem. So yeah, it's not great.
Yeah, exactly.
But self-reporting is very common in psychology. Very, it's very easy to administer. You can get huge sample sizes, and there are technical ways around this. You can, sort of reverse scale that kind of thing. But it is a problem.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's one way.
Yeah. And then the other natural kind of thing. Well, let's get around self-reporting. Let's see what you can do. Let's bring you into the lab. Yeah. And this is called performance-based measure. So here is a life dilemma. You're called in the middle of the night. A friend is saying that they want to end it all. What do you do? So
do you A, give them a gun?
B, on a scale from 1 to 10. No. So it's left open to you. You speak about it for as long as you deem necessary, and then your response is recorded, and then it is rated by trained raters who are they score it against the criteria of the wisdom model that you're using. And that has been shown. Inter-rater reliability is quite good. You can, if you train the raters properly, they tend to give similar scores. Consistency, absolutely. Which is good. And it's good because people are saying what they would actually do in a situation, rather than just talking about an abstract quality like how wise are they. There are obviously problems with it. You're still not actually seeing what people do. You're still seeing what people say they would do. Yeah. So there's still an element of reporting what they reckon they would do in that situation.
A discrepancy, no doubt. Yeah.
Until we get to a point where you're following people around with video cameras at every moment, you're going to have that problem. But performance-based measures have shown to be a little bit more robust.
Okay, fantastic. So we're getting somewhere. With the measuring of wisdom, is basically what you're saying.
Yeah. So I mean, there's about half a dozen scales now, which have been shown to be, replicatable, reliable, consistent. Repeat testing over a 10-month period, giving similar scores. So yeah, we've got some handy tools at our disposal, and a lot of progress has been made.
Okay, and what can people do with this if they're interested in seeing how wise they are?
Yeah, actually, there is one of the top three, that we were talking about earlier. One of the top three frameworks is the 3-dimensional wisdom scale. It's Monica Ardelt's brainchild from University of Florida. And you can do that on evidencebasedwisdom.com. You can go on there, click on the link. You can answer 39 questions. It's a self-report mechanism. So, there are the various inherent problems we've discussed.
Tell the truth would be good.
What would a wise person say? Exactly. Just try and get a really great score. And you can get the score, and you can work out, get a sort of quick and approximate version of your sort of level of wisdom. So that is available on the site now. So you can go and try it.
Fantastic. So in summary, we're getting somewhere with measuring of wisdom, and it seems to be the elements of all the good things you'd want in a testing framework, which is great. It's a burgeoning field, isn't it? As more and more smart people come to this field, they'll think of more and more smart ways to consistently assess wisdom. So we can expect good things in the future.
Absolutely. And often the best result will be achieved by using a combination of different tools. So researchers who have kind of looked at these various different tools to work out which ones are most reliable, they say you can take advantage of all. So you can have an element of self-report, an element of performance-based measure, and also
following people around. Well, I suppose the thing is you can assess the results that people get in their lives, could you not, presumably, and in some way not.
Yeah, there is this idea of informant report. So the public has quite a good sense of, they recognize wisdom. They find it difficult to explain what it is, but they recognize it, and they recognize wisdom in people. So one way they often use to test the validity of these measures that scientists come up with
to
is
see how an individual would score.
A person who has been deemed as wise, do they score well? Because if they don't,
it's not a good calibration.
It's not really working.
Exactly.
So informant report is considered like a third sort of ingredient or tool that you might throw in with the self-report and the performance-based measure
as a way to adjust the calibration of these scales.
Yeah.
Lovely. Okay, so as always, more stuff at evidencebasedwisdom.com, and thanks for listening.